Jake Carter's eyes opened slowly, his head pounding like a drum. Smoke filled the small cabin of his crashed spaceship. Red warning lights blinked across the control panel, his suit was torn, and his oxygen level was dropping fast. System failure. Life support at 20%, the computer said calmly. Jake coughed and looked outside the cracked window. Strange purple trees swayed in a slow, alien wind. The sky was green, and two suns hung above the horizon. He had crash-landed on an unknown planet, and he was completely alone, or so he thought. Jake grabbed his emergency pack and stepped out of the ship, his legs shaking. He didn't take 5 steps before he heard something in the trees, a soft humming sound, followed by a light breeze that felt unnatural. Suddenly a tall, glowing figure stepped out. She had lavender skin, long silver hair, and bright blue eyes that seemed to look straight into his soul. Her voice was soft but firm. "You are the chosen male," she said. Jake blinked, confused. What? Before he could ask anything else, another voice came from behind. "No, he belongs to the Skyborn," the second figure said, stepping forward. This one had golden skin, short white hair, and glowing green eyes. She looked just as beautiful, but carried herself like a soldier. Both women stared at each other with cold eyes. "I found him first," said the lavender-skinned one. "But he was promised to my people," the golden one replied. Jake raised his hands. Hey, wait a second. I don't belong to anyone." They both turned to him at the same time. "You do not understand," the silver-haired girl said. "You are the last human male. The prophecy says one of us must bond with you." Jake took a step back. "Prophecy? What are you talking about?" The golden-skinned girl spoke now. "Thousands of years ago, our ancestors met humans. Strong and full of heart, it is said that a human will return to lead us into a new age." Jake shook his head. "You must have the wrong guy. I'm just a pilot." But they didn't listen. Instead, the two alien girls took a step toward each other. Tension filled the air. Jake could feel it. They were about to fight. "You had your chance, Zila," said the golden one. "But I, Riva of the Skyborn, will not share." Zila's eyes narrowed. "Then you'll have to take him from me." Suddenly, weapons appeared in their hands, not guns, but energy blades that shimmered in the light. Jake stumbled back. "Whoa! Stop. You don't need to fight over me." But it was too late. The two girls moved fast. Spinning and striking with grace and power, their blades clashed with bright flashes. Each hit lighting up the trees around them. Jake ducked behind a rock. Watching in disbelief, he had seen a lot in space, but this was something else. They were fighting over him, and not just arguing, really fighting. Zila moved like water, fast and flowing. Her blade dancing like a ribbon. Riva was sharp and powerful. Strikes strong enough to crack stone as they fought. The ground shook a little. Jake looked around and noticed the wind was picking up. The trees were moving strangely, almost as if they were alive. Then he heard it, a deep growl, low and dangerous, coming from the shadows. He turned and saw something big moving behind the trees, a shape too large to be peaceful, with glowing red eyes. Ladies?" Jake called out, but they were too busy. The creature stepped into the light, tall as a house, with thick armor and claws that dripped green acid. Jake's heart dropped. Now they had a real problem, hey? "Stop fighting!" he yelled, pointing at the monster. "We've got company." The girls stopped mid-blow and turned. Their faces changed from anger to fear. "Void beast," Zila whispered. "It followed the crash," Riva said. "We must run." Without another word, Riva grabbed Jake's arm. Zila covered their back. And all three sprinted into the forest. The monster roared and followed, breaking trees as it moved. Jake had no idea where they were going, or who these girls really were. All he knew was that his simple mission had become something much bigger. He was stuck between two alien warriors, both beautiful, both dangerous, and now, both running with him for their lives somehow. He knew this was only the beginning. The forest was glowing. Strange blue plants lit up the path as Jake, Zila, and Riva ran deeper into the alien jungle. Behind them, the void beast roared, tearing through trees like paper. Zila led the way, leaping over roots and dodging branches. Riva stayed close behind Jake, keeping her eyes on the shadows. The forest wasn't safe, but it was their only chance. After what felt like hours, they reached a hidden cave behind a waterfall. The girls activated a cloaking field at the entrance, hiding it from sight. Inside, the air was warm, and the walls shimmered with strange crystals. Jake dropped to the ground. Exhausted, he looked at the two girls, still catching their breath, both alert, both silent. Finally, he spoke. "Okay, now someone tell me what the hell is going on." Zila looked at Riva, and Riva looked back at her. This time there was no fight, only understanding. Jake sat up, wiping sweat from his brow. "Start from the beginning." Zila nodded, her voice calm. "Thousands of years ago, humans came to our part of the galaxy. They were brave, kind, and strong. Your people helped many species grow, including ours, but then they vanished." Riva added, "A great war, a collapse in time-space. No one knows how or why. All that remained was a prophecy." Jake raised an eyebrow. "What kind of prophecy?" Zila pulled out a small glowing tablet, ancient and covered in alien symbols. She touched it, and a hologram appeared. A figure that looked human, standing between two alien queens. Riva explained. "It says when the human heart returns, unity or destruction will follow. One must bond, and balance must be found." Jake stared at the glowing image. "So, you think I'm the human in this prophecy?" Zila nodded. "Your DNA matches the ancient code. You are not just any human, Jake Carter. Yeah. You were the last bloodline of the old Earth Empire." Jake shook his head. "That's impossible. Earth. It's gone. It's just a memory." Riva stepped forward. "Maybe so. But the galaxy still remembers your kind. Some of us waited, others prepared." Jake stood up, walking slowly around the cave. "So, let me get this straight, both of you. Want to bond with me because of some ancient text?" Zella and Riva both spoke at once. "Yes." Their voices echoed. Then silence returned. Jake laughed nervously. "I don't even know what that means." Zella took a step closer. "Bonding is not just love. It's mental and genetic linking. A union that joins power and purpose," Riva added. "It gives strength to our people. But only one of us is allowed to do it. The prophecy warns two would bring chaos." Jake rubbed his temples. "So you were really going to fight each other ... over me?" They both looked down, slightly ashamed. But then a soft hum filled the cave. The crystals on the wall began to glow brighter, responding to Jake's presence. Suddenly, the floor beneath him lit up with symbols. Zila's eyes widened. "The temple is awakening." Riva looked at Jake with a new expression. Fear and respect. "You're not just a piece of the prophecy. You are the key." Jake stepped back, but the light followed his feet. He looked down at his hands. Small sparks danced across his skin. "Why is this happening?" he asked. Zila answered softly. "The machine recognizes your blood." Riva added, "You've activated ancient tech that hasn't responded for centuries." Jake looked at them both, confused and overwhelmed. "I didn't ask for this," he whispered. Zila nodded, "But destiny doesn't ask. It chooses." The light began to fade, but the air stayed warm, like something alive was watching just then. A beeping sound came from Zila's wrist device. She checked it, then frowned. "Scouts from my planet are on the way. They'll try to take you by force." Riva's device beeped too, "And mine are coming as well. They won't share." Jake looked at both girls. "So what now? I have to choose one of you." They stayed silent, but their eyes said yes. Jake thought for a moment, then smiled a little. "What if I don't pick either of you?" Zila raised an eyebrow. "Then war may begin. Our people will fight for you." Riva looked serious. "And millions could die." Jake stared at the glowing walls, then back at the girls. "Then maybe it's time I stop running and start leading," he said. They both looked surprised. "I don't care about prophecies," Jake continued. "But I won't let anyone fight because of me." Zila stepped forward. "Then what do you plan to do?" Jake took a deep breath, looked them both in the eye and smiled. "I have an idea." The cave lights flickered again, as if they were listening, outside. Starships were approaching. Inside, a decision was about to change everything. The air inside the crystal cave began to tremble. Tiny stones on the ground danced as a low hum vibrated through the walls. Jake looked up, heart pounding. "What is that sound?" Zila's eyes narrowed. Starships. Riva checked her wrist screen. 2 scout teams, Skyborn and Moonclaw. Both landing now. Jake stepped forward. They'll fight if they see each other. Zila nodded. And they'll take you without asking, Riva added. They'll treat you like an object, not a person. Jake clenched his fists. Then we need to leave now. Zila walked to the back of the cave and pressed her hand on a smooth wall. It melted open like liquid light, revealing a narrow tunnel. This path leads to the valley below, she said. Riva grabbed supplies quickly. If we move fast, we'll stay ahead of them. They entered the glowing tunnel, and the wall sealed behind them like nothing was there. Inside, the air was cooler, filled with floating specks of soft light. Jake walked between the 2 alien girls, still unsure what his next step should be. They were quiet for a while. The only sound was their footsteps, and the occasional drip of water echoing from far ahead. After some time, Zila finally spoke. Why didn't you run from us when you had the chance? Jake glanced at her. Because I don't like running away. I don't leave people behind. Riva looked over her shoulder, a small smile on her face. It's a very human answer. Jake chuckled. You say that like it's a bad thing, Zila? Shook her head. No, it's a rare thing. As they continued walking, the tunnel began to widen at the end. They stepped into a massive underground chamber filled with glowing pools of water and ancient machines half buried in the ground. This place is older than both our worlds, Riva whispered. Jake walked to a stone platform that rose when he approached. Symbols glowed beneath his feet again. Just like in the cave, Zila gasped. He's connected to the source. Riva nodded slowly. He is the source. Suddenly, the ground shook. Dust fell from the ceiling as a deep roar echoed. From the tunnel behind them, they found us, Zila said, pulling out her weapon, but before they could prepare. A metal wall behind the chamber opened with a hiss.
Ace.
Inside was a chamber of glass and starlight. A strange pod floated in the center. Pulsing gently, Jake stepped inside. Drawn to it like a magnet, he placed his hand on the pod and it opened. Inside was a control seat, and when Jake touched it, energy flowed into the room. The machines around them lit up, and a deep voice echoed in the air. Welcome, Human Prime. Authority recognized. Zila and Riva dropped to one knee without thinking. Jake stood still, his mind racing. What? ... What is this place? The voice continued. This is Arc 17, last command vault of Earth Empire. You're unlocking forgotten power, Zila whispered, amazed. Riva stood, eyes wide. This changes everything. Jake turned to them, voice steady. We're not just running anymore, we're going to fight back. But not with war, he added, with unity. Zela stepped closer. Our people won't trust each other easily. Jake looked at her, then at Riva. Then we give them a reason to believe. Riva tilted her head. And what reason is that? Jake smiled us. For a moment, all 3 stood in silence. In that silence, something invisible changed. The tension between the 2 girls began to fade. They looked at each other not as rivals, but as survivors. Zila nodded slowly. Maybe we can share. Riva hesitated, then held out her hand. For now, Zila took it. A spark of respect forming in their eyes, Jake stepped forward and placed a hand on both their shoulders. Together, he said, we're stronger than any prophecy. Just then, the lights above shifted, forming a path. The voice returned. Command path opening. Please proceed. They followed the glowing floor into the depths of the ancient vault. Behind them, scout ships searched the jungle, confused by disappearing signals, but Jake, Zila, and Riva were now beyond reach, inside the legacy of an empire long forgotten, and something even greater was waiting for them ahead. Asterisk, the ancient vault pulsed with light. Each step Jake took lit the floor beneath his boots. Zila and Riva walked beside him, quiet but alert. The long hallway opened into a giant chamber, round open, glowing with blue and gold patterns that moved like water. In the center stood a control platform, and around it, hundreds of transparent screens floated in the air. Jake approached, and the AI voice returned. Council communication incoming, Zila's eyes went wide. They've found us. Riva raised her wrist device, and her face tightened. My people are demanding answers. The room shimmered, and suddenly, Two giant holograms appeared, one of a regal alien queen with silver armor and sharp blue eyes, the other of a tall general with golden skin and a crown made of stars. Both stared directly at Jake. "You are the human," the queen said, her voice cold. "You will return with my daughter Zila." "No," said the general. "The prophecy belongs to the Skyborn. Riva will bring him home." Jake stepped forward. Calm but firm. "I'm not property." The two leaders paused. Surprised by his confidence, Jake continued, "I've listened to both of your daughters, and I've seen what your people believe, but I'm not here to be a prize," he said. "I'm here to make a choice." Zila and Riva looked at him, unsure of what he was about to say. Jake turned back to the holograms. "Both of you want to use me, to bond with me, so your people can gain more power, but your daughters aren't tools." He added, "They're warriors, thinkers, and more human than you realize." The queen's image darkened slightly. "You insult tradition," the general replied. "You risk war." Jake took a deep breath. "Then let there be war. If peace means surrendering freedom." Zilla took a sharp breath. "Jake," he raised a hand gently. "No more fear." He stepped onto the central platform, and the entire chamber shifted, showing maps of stars, ancient data logs, and lost human outposts across the galaxy. The AI spoke again. "Command structure available. Override possible." Jake looked at both alien leaders. "You want me to choose between your daughters, but what if I choose a new path?" he asked. "What if we stop fighting and build something better?" The queen scoffed. "One human cannot rewrite history." Jake smiled slightly. "One human did before." He looked at Zila, then Riva. "I choose neither of your paths. I choose our path." He reached out and pulled both girls beside him. Zella looked shocked. Riva raised an eyebrow, but neither pulled away. Jake spoke louder now, his voice echoing through the chamber. "We three are the balance, not rivals, but a team. Share the bond, share the power, share the future." The AI paused, then said, "Unification code accepted." The chamber glowed white, blinding, and pure. The two holograms flickered violently, their leaders arguing, shouting. But the vault cut the signal. Silence followed. Only the sound of the vault's energy humming around them remained. Zella looked at Jake. "You really think they'll accept this?" Jake turned to her. "No." Riva crossed her arms. "Then what's the next step?" Jake smiled. "We show them what it means to be human. We don't divide," he added. "We unite." Behind them, the platform rose, revealing armor, weapons, and maps of old Earth tech scattered across the galaxy. It was a treasure chest of forgotten power, waiting to be claimed. Zella stepped forward. "So this is our army?" Jake nodded. "This is our start." Riva touched a glowing star map, her voice steady. "Then let's go wake up the rest." The chamber opened behind them, revealing a hidden hangar with a sleek, glowing starship unlike anything seen in thousands of years. Its name pulsed on the side. Liberty. Jake walked toward it, Zila and Riva by his side. No longer fighting, no longer strangers. The galaxy didn't know it yet, but everything was about to change. The starship Liberty rose from the hidden hangar like a ghost returning from the dead. Its silver blue hull gleamed under the glowing lights of the ancient vault. No dust, no damage. It had been waiting for Jake Carter. The moment he stepped on board, the lights flickered awake. A soft voice greeted him, not robotic, but almost human. "Welcome, Commander Carter. Earth Defense Protocols online?" Jake looked around, stunned. "How do you know my name?" The voice replied, "Genetic match confirmed. You are the heir of Captain Elias Carter." Last commander of Liberty Squadron. Zila and Riva exchanged glances. "This ship, it's alive," Zila whispered. "It's remembering," Riva added. They followed Jake onto the command deck, where glowing panels came to life with a soft hum. Star charts spun in the air, planets highlighted, some marked lost, others active threats. Jake placed his hand on the control sphere, and the ship responded instantly. Systems booted up, weapons came online. Engines hummed with silent power. Ship status, fully operational. The AI said, weapons, shields, and stealth mode ready, Jake sat in the command chair, feeling something strange, not fear, not pride, but purpose. He looked at the girls. This ship was waiting for my bloodline, Zila nodded slowly. The galaxy thought your kind vanished forever. But this, Riva said, walking along the control deck. This proves they didn't just vanish, they left tools. Jake tapped a blinking icon, a memory file, marked Final Broadcast, Earth's High Command. He played it, and a hologram appeared in front of them. A tired, bearded man stood in front of a damaged console, wearing a uniform like Jake's. "This is Captain Elias Carter," the man said. "If you're seeing this, Earth has fallen. Our enemies were too many. Too fast, too united," he continued. "So we scattered our forces, buried our ships, hid our weapons, and hoped the future would rise again." He looked straight at the camera, eyes burning. "If you're my blood, then take liberty. Take the vaults, take the tech, and make Earth matter again." The hologram ended. Silence followed. Jake stood slowly. "That was my great-grandfather," Zilla whispered. "You carry their spirit?" Riva looked up, and "Now you carry their war." Alarms suddenly blared, shaking the silence. Unknown ships approaching fast, the AI warned. 12 vessels, weapons armed. Origin, Moonclaw, and Skyborne fleets. Jake looked out the front window, bright flashes were forming in the clouds above. "They found us," he said. Zella stepped beside him, her voice cold. "They're here to capture you," Riva raised her blade. "Or kill you." Jake sat back down. Calm, focused, "Not today. Activate stealth mode," he ordered. The ship shimmered and disappeared from view. Outside, the alien fleet searched the area, scanning the jungle and rocks, confused by the vanishing signal. Inside Liberty, Jake turned the ship slowly and flew under the surface of the jungle using ancient tech to mask every trace. He brought up the galaxy map. Thousands of stars glowing like fireflies. Some were red locations of ancient battles. Some were green, possible safe zones. But one blinked gold, hidden in the far reaches of space. Marked Arc Titan. Jake touched it. "What's Arc Titan?" The AI answered, "Primary Earth weapon platform, capable of planetary control. Last known location, lost." Zila's eyes widened. "If we find it, we become unstoppable," Riva finished. Jake nodded. "Then that's our mission. But," he added, "we'll need help." He zoomed in on a few green systems. "I remember stories about old Earth's allies, traitors, rebels, scientists. Some of them might still be out there," he said. "Hiding, surviving." Zila smiled. "Then it's time to gather the lost pieces." Riva smirked. "And remind the stars what humans are made of." Jake leaned forward, set course for the first beacon. The ship hummed, engines firing in silence above them. The fleets kept searching, below them. Liberty disappeared into deep space, carrying with it the past, the future, and the fire of Earth's return. The weapon had awakened. The galaxy had no idea what was coming. Asterisk, the stars blurred as Liberty slipped out of warp space. Jake stood at the front of the command deck, staring at the glowing blue planet below. It was called Veltries, a neutral world where no empire ruled, a place of traitors, exiles, smugglers, and ancient memories. "This is where we make contact," Jake said. "With who?" Zila asked, scanning the planet. Jake looked at the blinking signal on the map. "With the ones who remember Earth." The ship landed in the shadow of black cliffs. Hidden from sight, Jake, Zila, and Riva stepped out wearing simple cloaks to blend in. The spaceport was loud and crowded, filled with aliens from every corner of the galaxy. Eyes turned as they walked by, a human and two rival warriors side by side. A silent message was already being sent. Unity was possible, but danger still followed them from the rooftops. Spies watched. From the alleys, bounty hunters whispered. There was a price on Jake's head, and the entire galaxy wanted a piece. They reached an old marketplace, where an ancient AI broker ran an underground archive. Jake placed a crystal shard on the table. Earth code, priority unlock. The AI blinked for a few seconds, then opened a hidden file. Dozens of signals flashed across the galaxy. Survivors, rebels, scientists, Even a few old Earth weapons caches still alive and hidden. Jake smiled. We have a network, but we need to move fast, Riva said, her voice tense. Both Skyborn and Moonclaw have declared war, Zila added. They're calling you a false prophet, a thief of destiny. Jake stared at the glowing data, then looked up. Then we give them the truth. Suddenly, explosions rocked the far side of the city, the sky filled with black ships, Moonclaw raiders. Dropping troops, they found us, Zila growled, drawing her weapon. But how? Riva asked, already scanning for exit paths. Jake clenched his jaw. Someone betrayed us. They fought their way back to the ship, lasers flashing, alarms screaming. Jake shielded a child hiding behind a stall, then helped a wounded alien vendor get to safety. People saw this, and word spread fast. The human protects the weak. The human fights for peace. The prophecy is real. By the time they reached Liberty, more than a dozen civilians followed behind them. Refugees, rebels, forgotten souls. They wanted to help. They wanted to believe. Jake let them in. No questions asked. The ship lifted off just as the Moonclaw commander landed. Eyes filled with rage, he shouted into his com. Send word to the Skyborn fleet. Crush him together. Hours later in deep space, Skyborn and Moonclaw ships formed a deadly blockade. Two fleets, two armies, ready to kill each other just days ago, now united by one goal: destroy the human who refused to choose. On the Liberty's bridge, the crew stood in silence. Any chance they'll talk? Riva asked, voice low. Jake didn't answer right away. He opened a channel. His voice echoed across the fleets. This is Jake Carter, he said, steady and calm. I'm not your enemy. I'm the last of Earth, he continued. But I'm not here to rule. I'm here to offer a third path. Not Skyborn, he said, not Moonclaw. But something new, unity, he said, built not on fear, but choice. Silence followed. Then the enemy ships charged their weapons. Zella whispered they chose war. Jake narrowed his eyes. Then we'll show them who we are. Liberty moved like lightning, dodging blasts and returning fire with pinpoint precision. Jake didn't aim to kill. He aimed to disable, to protect, to prove on every ship hit. Survivors noticed the pattern. The human wasn't trying to destroy. He was trying to save. One by one, some ships began to power down, refusing to fire. Small crews rebelled against orders, choosing to surrender. Then, something incredible happened. A Skyborn cruiser opened its gates and sent a message. We want to talk. Moonclaw frigate echoed it. We want peace, Zila gasped. It's working, Jake nodded, voice soft. They just needed to see something real. Later that day, aboard a neutral station, leaders from both empires met, not as enemies, but as witnesses. Jake stood between them with Zila and Riva, both now trusted by their people, and he said, I'm not a prophecy, I'm a choice. Choose to destroy, and we all fall. Choose to unite, and we become something greater. There was silence, then slow applause from the crowd. Not forced, not political, honest, for the first time in generations. Skyborn and Moonclaw bowed their heads at the same time. A human had reminded them what strength really looked like. Peace had a sound. It wasn't loud or grand or filled with cheering. It was quiet. The sound of two armies laying down their weapons at the same time. The war was over. But the silence that followed was full of questions. In the center of the Unity Council Hall, Jake Carter stood tall. Zila on his right, proud and graceful. Riva on his left, strong and calm. Behind them, leaders from both the Skyborn and Moonclaw watched in silence. Every eye was on Jake. Every breath held. He cleared his throat, not because he was nervous, but because he wanted them to feel his next words deep in their bones. I didn't come here to lead your people, he said. I didn't come here to be king or a legend or the hero from a prophecy. I came here because I crashed, he continued. I was lost, alone, and scared, just like many of you have been for years. But something changed, Jake said, looking at Zella. Then Riva, two warriors from two enemy worlds, risked everything to protect me. They didn't have to, he added, but they did. He stepped forward, voice steady and warm. I've learned more from these two women than I ever did in a classroom or a cockpit. They taught me what honor really means. They taught me what loyalty feels like. And they showed me that even the deepest hate can turn into something else. Respect, he said. Trust, even love. A murmur passed through the crowd. Some smiled, some looked confused, some angry, but all were listening. I've been told I must choose. Oh, gee. Jake continued. Choose one side, one flag. One future, he paused, then shook his head gently. But I won't. I'm not here to break unity by choosing one over the other, he said. I'm here to build it. Zila and Riva both looked at him now. Eyes wide, Jake turned slowly. First to Zila, taking her hand. You were my shield when I was weak, he said. You fought for me before I even understood why. Then he turned to Riva, holding her hand too. And you, he said, you challenged me, questioned me, made me stronger. I never planned this, Jake added, smiling slightly. But the truth is, I love you both, gasps echoed through the chamber. Some laughed. Others frowned, but no one looked away. Jake raised his voice, in the old ways. I was supposed to choose one. In the new way, I choose both, and not just to prove a point, he said, but because I believe our future needs balance, not sacrifice. I'm not forcing anyone. He added, this choice is mine, and I hope it's theirs too. He looked into Zela's eyes, then Riva's, a heartbeat of silence. Then Zila smiled softly. I always knew you would do something no one else dared. Riva stepped closer, touching Jake's chest. Oh, then we say yes, together. The hall erupted, not in war cries, but in applause, cheers, stunned, silence, broken by something rare and real. Hope. From that moment, the galaxy shifted, no longer divided by bloodlines or ancient stories, but united by a decision made not out of tradition, but truth. Jake Carter married both Zila and Riva in the first unity ceremony ever held between the two species. The bond wasn't just romantic, it was political, spiritual, and symbolic. A human, a skyborn, and a moonclaw walking into the future. Side by side, together, they rebuilt what war had broken, together. They activated Earth's forgotten tech and shared it freely. Together, they gave birth to a new alliance, not built on fear, a choice. And as the stars watched from above, the galaxy whispered one word once feared and now reborn, humanity.